Hello, everybody. My name is Biebuyck. I'm the Executive Director of the Fuel Cells and Hydrogen Joint Undertaking. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for having me here today. And also, I believe that this conference or this series of webinars come at really a very good timing because now in Europe, we are convinced that hydrogen will play a very, very important role into the decarbonization efforts of the Union in order to reach our targets by 2030 that we have set all together. And for that, I will explain a little bit better in a presentation that I have prepared for you. And I hope, and I'm just sharing now, I hope by now that you can see my presentation. So I will talk about hydrogen in the European energy systems in 2025 and beyond. First of all, a little bit about ourselves. Well, we are a public-private partnership. We have three partners. We have Hydrogen Europe, which is the industry grouping. They have 270 members, 50% are small and medium enterprises. On the other hand, we have also Hydrogen Europe, the research. It's a research association. They have 83 members, well spread across Europe. And in the middle, we have the European Commission. And they are, of course, very important for us because they give us actually the financial means to support financially or by funding the projects. And today we have 285 research and innovation projects supported for a little bit more than 1 billion euro. And since this is a public-private partnership, of course, we expect from the private side a similar amount of money. And so I can tell you that together we have now spent since 2008 more than 2 billion euros in this sector. We have three main pillars. We work around energy, hydrogen production, distribution, storage, and so on, but also on transport, road vehicles, non-road vehicles, the infrastructure, of course, for refueling, and more horizontal pillar, cross-cutting. We mean with that standardization, safety topics, educational topics, etc. What have we supported so far in Ireland? Well, in Ireland, we have three beneficiaries. They are participating in two projects, and we spent overall a contribution of 280,000 euro for that. The two projects are Green Highland and Heaven. Both projects are very important projects in Europe because they are basically hydrogen valley projects, and I will explain later what is this exactly. In addition, we can also see some further activity in Ireland. We see a trial bus deployed. It is not in our program. Also some future plans on offshore hydrogen production. But we also see that there are some projects, mainly in the area of Interreg, that are happening in Ireland. And finally, in one of our projects, the PACE project, we also will support 20 micro CHP. But overall, we can say that today Ireland and hydrogen is not yet very active. And I believe, or I hope that through my presentation, more companies, more research institutes, regions in Ireland will start to look more seriously at hydrogen and potentially also find their way to the FCHJU. A little bit about how this journey on hydrogen started in the Union. Well, back in 2019, we made a hydrogen roadmap for Europe together with a number of companies, and there we created the 2050 hydrogen vision. We saw that in the study that by 2050, 24% of the final energy demand could be supplied through hydrogen. And that would abate annually around 560 million tons of CO2, create an annual revenue of around 820 billion euros, of course reduce further other emissions, but very important, would create 5.4 million jobs. Then we looked a bit closer in time to 2030, and for that we used the national energy and climate plans that each member state had to issue. And when we look to the combined EU 27 plus the UK, we could see that in Europe, depending on the scenario, because we made a high scenario and low scenario, that in case of the high scenario, up to 56 gigawatt of electrolyzers are needed, and that they can reduce around 67 million tons of CO2, creating 30 billion euro added value and around 360,000 jobs. When we zoomed in Ireland, because basically we made the study for each country, and if you want to see for your country, please go to our website. You have the link there, and you can find all the details. But as a summary, in Ireland, when we look really at the high potential, there we see that Ireland can contribute to this scenario with 300 megawatt of electrolyzers, creating around 130 million euro of added value and about 2,000 jobs. And that's why, due to this huge potential for jobs and growth and CO2 abatement, Europe has decided last year to make a European hydrogen strategy. And this strategy has 3 phases. Phase 1 is the 6 gigawatt of renewable hydrogen electrolyzers, which will create 1 million tons of renewable hydrogen by 2024. Then the phase 2 is until 2030. There we will put 40 gigawatt of electrolyzers in the field, creating around 10 million tons of renewable hydrogen. This is exactly what we are consuming today in Europe, although that is 96% is gray hydrogen for that. And we will use that hydrogen, this 10 million tons, then mainly in steel and transport. And then the third phase is beyond 2030, and there we believe that this technology will be matured and can be really deployed at a large scale. Those 3 phases will be supported by the Clean Hydrogen Alliance in order to raise the money to make a European investment agenda. What is the European Clean Hydrogen Alliance? Well, it was also launched last year on the 8th of July. And basically their task is to create a project pipeline for a massive rollout of these hydrogen technologies. We will involve in that all the active stakeholders in the ecosystem, bringing actually together supply and demand. And I can tell you that today already we have more than 1,000 members or 1,000 industries taking part of this alliance. We estimate that to reach the 2030 goals that we have set, that we will need around 430 billion euro of investment. We organize ourselves in this alliance by making 6 roundtables, 1 on production, 1 on distribution, and the various applications. How did we boost the hydrogen awareness in Europe? Well, we started in FCHJU with a region initiative back in 2016, where we contacted all the regions in Europe to start working with us and to help them to see how they can reach their decarbonization targets in their region using hydrogen, for example. And we're working now with almost 100 regions across Europe. And with these regions, basically we created 3 additional actions. And one of these actions was to launch the European Hydrogen Valleys Partnership back in 2019, because this was done by 40 regions that said, look, hydrogen for our region can create a lot of jobs, a lot of growth, and we want to go faster. And so they grouped themselves in this partnership. On the other hand, we had a number of regions that basically were not yet very mature with the hydrogen technology and with their ideas. And that's why we made a project development assistance program. It was very successful. We launched it last year. We had a lot of applications. And because of it was so successful, we have decided by the end of the year another launch of this project development assistance program. And the third action that came out of this initiative was to create a European hydrogen valley. And actually it was quite nice also to see that last year our President Ursula von der Leyen, she picked up on this idea, and she said that the next generation EU, which is basically this big pot of money that will be used for the recovery after this pandemic, and she said that this money should also be used to create more European hydrogen valleys. Unfortunately, if you look to all these charts that you see here, we don't see very much yet Ireland in the picture. And I can only hope by this presentation again that we can see also regions in Ireland interested to joining this journey. A few examples of hydrogen valleys in Europe today. Well, we have 3 examples here. The first one was Biebuyck in the northern part of Scotland, is the Orkney Islands, where we produce hydrogen on the islands. We bring it on shore for charging cars and the ferries. That was a very important project because that was the kickstart of building like a small ecosystem. Then we had the idea to make a really European hydrogen valley, a big one. And finally, the northern Netherlands became the first European hydrogen valley. What is very important in such a valley is the sectoral integration approach. So where you can see that mobility, hydrogen production, hydrogen storage, hydrogen usage in heating and cooling, hydrogen usage in the industry, that this is all demonstrated in one small ecosystem. And you can see all these synergies by working together. That was a very extremely successful project. It's still ongoing, actually. They are building now this valley. And in the meantime, we have looked also to build a first European hydrogen island. And actually, the island of Mallorca in Spain raised their hand to become the first European hydrogen island. And also here we can again see this sectoral integration approach where basically hydrogen is produced, in this case from solar, used for different purposes, for heating and mobility, but also they will blend it here in the gas grid. We believe that we will make future possible hydrogen valleys. We will have such a calls for sure in the future, maybe also cross-border now. We think about ports, airports, industrial hubs, logistical hubs, and why not build the first European hydrogen city. A second thing that was very important to boost the European hydrogen economy was to scale up the capacity and to reduce the cost for the electrolysis. And I can tell you that Europe today is really world leader in the electrolysis systems. When we started this journey 10 years ago in 2011 in Belgium with the first project, it was about 150 kilowatt. And if you see where we are after 10 years now, where we had last year the call of the European Green Deal for a 100 megawatt proposal, we received actually 16 proposals, which are now being evaluated. So you can see that in 10 years' time, we really moved from 100 kilowatt to 100 megawatt. And we know we are not there yet. I mean, we will build more 100 megawatts by 2025 and eventually go to gigawatt scale by 2030. What was also very important is that once we reached the size of around 6 megawatt, there we saw the big industries coming in. I mean, 6 mega was then the project H2 Future in Austria with voestalpine, big steel maker. But later on, Refine, which was with Shell in Germany. Then we had the Jewels projects, 20 megawatt, with Nourion, which is in the fertilizer industry. That one will be scaled up even to 60 megawatt in the Valley project. And finally, now, as I said, we have the 100 megawatt. So we are there, but again, as I said, we will need to even go beyond because we need to go to the gigawatt scale. Another very important topic was to make sure that the people, the customers know which hydrogen they get. And for that, we developed the Guarantees of Origin scheme. It is in the project Certify, which started in 2016. In phase 2 of the project, we decided to build 4 pilot plants in the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, and France to submit such a Guarantees of Origins. And we have already more than 70,000 GOs issued. It was very successful, those 4 pilot plants. That's why now in Certified 3, we are now setting up really a platform to roll out this Guarantees of Origin scheme across Europe. We do this together with the AIB as the Association of the Issuing Bodies. A second action that we take is we're working also globally together in the IPHE, where basically we agree to make a common methodology on each hydrogen production analysis to see how much CO2 they will generate, each hydrogen production pathway, and agree on this methodology worldwide altogether. Because this is so important to unlock future cross-border trading, because Europe will need to import hydrogen from abroad. And so it's very important that, for example, hydrogen, which is called green in Australia, is also the same hydrogen, green hydrogen that we call in Europe. Finally, we also have a lot of projects related to different modes of transport. And I can tell you on cars, forklift, trucks, and buses, we already advanced a lot in that during the past 10 years. And now the next step is really to look into the heavy duty, like shipping and aviation. Finally, I also would like to spend some time on safety. I mean, now I hope, as I said, that Ireland will also start more projects on hydrogen. And please, whenever you do some projects on hydrogen, please do never forget about safety. It's very, very important. And that's why at the European level, we have launched the European Hydrogen Safety Panel, what they are doing is basically they are analyzing a big database of all the incidents that we have in Europe with hydrogen, and they share the lessons learned with everybody. You can find the reports on our website as well. But also at the same time, they are helping us to they are helping us to the different projects to do their job or to do their work or to do their project in a more safe way. So also for you, please do not hesitate if you would like to check something to contact us and the panel. Also, if you would like to see the status of the hydrogen and fuel cell technology in Europe, we have launched the Fuel Cells and Hydrogen Observatory at the end of last year. It covers, for example, the technology in the markets. For example, you want to know how many buses we have, I don't know, in Belgium. Well, you can go and you can look this up. So same for the amount of electrolyzers. So all this information is there. Also around policies and regulation is a big chapter. We have a chapter on the codes and the standards, on patents is a chapter, also on funding opportunities, European one, national one, regional one. And finally, also there's a section with all our education and training material that is there to download freely. So go to the website if you have any questions. And I think, honestly, I believe that this observatory is one of the biggest detailed observatory I think that we have now publicly available in the world. About some future funding instruments at the European level, in case you have some great projects and you're looking for funding. Well, first of all, I have to say in the FCHJU will stop to exist by the end of the year, and we will be called now the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking. We will focus on three pillars. One is the hydrogen production again, electrolyzers, but also very much low TRL or kind of hydrogen production methodologies like direct sunlight conversion into hydrogen, etc. The second pillar will be on the distribution. So how can we transport hydrogen through the natural gas pipelines? How do we do blending? We will talk about liquefaction there. So a lot of job is there to be done still in the distribution area. And the third pillar will be around end use. There we look mainly at the heavy duty, as I already mentioned, but also into the heating and the power, where we'll look at hydrogen burners and turbines. And we will, of course, continue to use hydrogen in various kinds of industries. We will have more hydrogen valleys, as I mentioned. We will continue the cross-cutting, of course. Something new will be the supply chain. Now we will also look at how we can build up a tier 1, tier 2, eventually tier 3 supplier for hydrogen. Hydrogen will be now also be part of other partnerships program, such as Processes for Planet, which is the chemical sector, 2.0, which is about more the transport sector, the waterborne for shipping, and then we have steel, aviation, rail. All these partnerships will also launch call for proposals related to hydrogen. Our partnership, the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, is of course the kind of, I call it the mother partnership. And we are very lucky because the Commission has decided to increase our budget for the next 7 years to 1 billion euro. Other opportunities for funding is the Connecting Europe facility. That's mainly about hydrogen refueling stations, infrastructure, and so on. Then you have the Innovation Fund, which is about really scaling up for big industries. So if you would like to scale up your factory to produce, for example, gigawatt scales of electrolyzers, or big refineries who would like to change to green hydrogen, that's where you need to be. That's the Innovation Fund. Finally, we have the IPCEI instrument, is the Important Projects for Common European Interest. That's more like a legal framework where basically the competition rules or state aid rules are waived. And finally, you have the Next Generation EU. As I already explained, we want to see also more hydrogen valleys in using the Next Generation EU money. And now a bit publicity. We will have the second European Hydrogen Week, which will be held from the 29th November to the 3rd of December at the end of this year. But just looking back to last year, it was a gigantic success. That was the first European Hydrogen Week. We had more than 10,000 people, more than 63 countries joined. We had 5 commissioners, a lot of ministers from various countries to speak, European Parliament members, a lot of CEOs. So it's really very high level conference, and I would say it's probably the biggest conference on hydrogen in Europe. So please be there, I would say. So if you have further questions, here you can find all my coordinates. Do not hesitate to contact me. And with this, I would like to stop my presentation. Again, a big thanks for listening to me. And also, if you have questions, do not hesitate to contact us. We are here to help you, to help to realize your country or your regions, to help to realize their decarbonization strategies and to reach their goals. Thank you very much and see you next time.